the war?
It looks like it, doesn't it? It's got to be over 100 on there. I think it's big to 3 inches.
Yes. Insane. It's not ending. A few more calls before UFO Phil comes in. At least one more. Mike in Denver. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, George. How are you?
Okay, Michael.
Hey, a couple quick facts. I would love to hear you do some investigating and do a show on. I don't know if you've heard about the detention center that's underneath the runway out at Denver International Airport.
I've heard about that. Trying to get somebody who really knows something about it, other than talking about the pictures and things like that.
No, I've got 2 lifelong friends were involved in groundbreaking construction out there.
Okay. Send them my way by email, would you?
I will do that. The second thing is Denver police, by personal friends and friends of mine that are in the military, their questionnaires have changed in the last 2 years regarding advancement, promotions, and re-enlistment. And the question that's being asked, and depending on how you answer it, dictates your future. They are asking point blank, will you fire on U.S. civilians if ordered to?
That is the question they're asking them now?
That is on the re-op in the military, and it is on promotional testing for Denver Police Department.
And even if they never would, they have to say yes in order to get promoted, right?
Or be allowed to re-enlist, to re-op. If you say no, you're out.
Unbelievable. So all these guys do it, and the gals too, right?
Yep.
Check.
You can only pray to God that they're just saying that to save their career. But lastly, quick story. The industry that I'm in, I have a manufacturer, a wholesaler out of the Fort Lauderdale area. That massive warehouse, obviously in the shipping areas there. You got some containers coming in nonstop. 2 years ago, with no notice whatsoever. I'm sorry, 3 years ago, with no notice whatsoever, this warehouse decides, they send out a notice. We we appreciate your business. We're shutting down. Here's our new site. Go to somebody in Iowa, another warehouse.
And they're done, right?
Yeah, no, they're not gone. A friend of mine has a family member that worked at this warehouse, and they remained open for the next 3 months. They received shipment after shipment, container after container from overseas of this basically an unmarked boxes of something. And they were this warehouse now became just a storage facility
for something.
My friend's family member, who curiosity got the best of him, one day when he thought he was out of security eyes, cracked open a box.
What was in it?
3 years of receiving Kevlar body armor suits, over 500,000 of them.
Shipped to who?
They're being held. The only documentation that he ever saw was listed as international military property.
Another death has been reported in China due to the bird flu on Sunday, this time in Guizhou province, and it's the second death this month. Little information was revealed about the death, other than it was a 39-year-old man who supposedly had no contact with poultry. The death follows just a week after 2 bird flu-related fatalities in Vietnam and Cambodia. According to the World Health Organization, since 2003, there have been 27 bird flu fatalities in China.
Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Monday, January 23rd, 2012, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.com, and ddarko2012 is my YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out all the links in YouTube's video description. You can check out all these articles and videos that I'm showing here. Alright, here's an actual document here that I received from a viewer. Epidemic hazard in China on Sunday, 22nd of January 2012. Goes on, the mainline authorities said a man died of H5N1 bird flu in the, not going to be able to pronounce this, but Zhejiang province. They notified the Center of Health Protection in Hong Kong. So even though the individual did not come in contact with poultry, they say poultry should be the suspect. Well, I'll tell you what the suspect is. It's a weaponized form of bird flu that scientists created, and it's for population measures and whatnot. And they're talking about releasing the information. Oh, should we? Well, the fact is that it's out there. And if the eugenicists want to call, 3/4 of the world's population, the information will make its way out, guaranteed. And the tricky thing about those viruses and that is that they always have a reason, the government that is, to issue a quarantine. And there's even been an article just recently that I covered where researchers and scientists are discussing forced vaccination and the morality of it, the ethics of it, of forced vaccinations. So you can be forced vaccinated possibly, and then you're going to be quarantined. So there doesn't even have to be an actual pandemic or outbreak. There just has to be the threat of one, or the basically the government saying that there is one, so that they can quarantine, set up checkpoints, and all the other stuff. Those tanks and whatnot, and those trains, those weren't going to the Middle East. Those were for here in the United States. That's why I included it with the other video about the body armor. And people think about, U.S. troops and police firing on American citizens. What you really need to be concerned with is foreign troops, NATO troops that are attached to each state. No, well, maybe not every state, but states like Illinois here in the Midwest, they have actual countries, like NATO countries, Serbia and all that, attached to them. They go over there and they come over here and they practice. That's what they train, and they're training for stuff like that. So that you'll have Serbian troops that have no qualms with shooting American citizens. So it doesn't really even matter whether they take that or they do that. As far as the police and troops go, law enforcement officials can now secretly install GPS tracking on your vehicle and spy on you without a warrant, says judge. This is January 9th, 2012, and then look at this. Supreme Court warrant needed in GPS tracking. Monday, January 23rd, they unanimously restricted the police ability to use a GPS device to track criminal suspects in the first test of how privacy rights will be protected in the digital age, which they won't. That's not the point, to have privacy rights. The privacy's gone. And, this whole thing about having a warrant for the GPS, it's just about as stupid as having a warrant for a cop to go and search your car illegally, right? So all they have to do is, like I showed in a video before, just recently, of a cop just planting, caught on camera, his own camera, planting drugs in people's cars. Well, they don't even have to do that. All they have to do is to get in there, is to have confiscated drugs, or drugs that they or the CIA sells to people. They just have a little touch of that, the little sense on their hands, and they go and they touch your car. And that's why you got to keep an eye on when you come near your car. They could touch it, and then they say, "Could I search your vehicle?" No, and then and then they'll bring out the dogs, the canine dogs, and that just bypasses that whole thing. And the dogs catch the whiff, and then bam, there goes your privacy. So there's always loopholes, and they're going to attach GPS devices, and really they don't even need that. They can see through your house. I'm sure they can chime in on what you're saying and stuff like that through satellites and that. So it's all smoke and mirrors. Authority for NYPD-CIA collaboration questions. CIA's top lawyer never approved sending a veteran agency officer to New York, where he helped set up police spying program. The AP's learned such approval would have been required under the presidential order that Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly said authorized the unusual assignment. And as some think that there's actually mayors throughout the United States that are actually on the CIA payroll. Rules are spelled out in advance, writing to ensure the CIA does not cross the line into domestic spying. So, security officials ramp up surveillance for Super Bowl. So 75 security cameras to be installed throughout downtown. That's right. That's going to be Madonna carrying out the big spell, casting the spell as a sorcerer. And of course, you're going to have the Olympics this year too. So U.S. government hits Megaupload with Mega-piracy indictment. Okay. So if feds can bust Megaupload, why bother with anti-piracy bills? They don't need it. See, smoke and mirrors. They can do whatever they want. Wrongfully accused in LA, ID glitches, see hundreds jailed who shouldn't be. LA Times found that more than 1,400 people in the past half decade have been wrongfully incarcerated, with the reasons ranging from overlooking fingerprint records to working off of records that were incomplete. The study also found that wrongful imprisonments were occurring so frequently, sometimes one person per day was being hauled in, though they were literally innocent of the charges. So you don't even need to be innocent. You see where I'm going with this? MPAA, basically Hollywood, who waves their little magic wand and casts the spell on a bunch of sheeple, says here that they're directly and publicly threatens politicians who aren't corrupt enough to stay bought out. Very interesting stuff here, guys. Pentagon scientists use, quote, time hole to make events disappear. So, of course, this doesn't exist yet, right? And it says here, soldiers could one day conduct covert operations in complete secrecy now that the Pentagon-backed physicists have figured out how to mask entire events by distorting light. So with support from DARPA, the Pentagon's out there research arm, basically you don't know anything about it, and it basically carries out the research and development for the military-industrial complex that's going to spy on every move and everything that you do with your tax dollars. So they're talking about cloaking and invisibility, and eventually they'll come out with this saying, oh, we can do this, source code, talking about sending basically a veteran back in time to prevent a terrorist attack. And who were the terrorists? I think they were anarchists. And Mark Wahlberg, he would have volunteered. He could have went back and prevented 9/11, according to him. Well, sorry, Mark, you couldn't have done that because that was a false flag terrorist attack that was supposed to be carried out. But he ended up apologizing for it. Pentagon-funded games would crowdsource weapons testing by, again, DARPA. At least they call it what it is in this article, military's venture capital and research arm. So it goes in and talks about developing a fun-to-play computer game that can refine the way weapon systems are tested to ensure they are free from software errors and security bugs. So yeah, you can have, like, you think about those tanks and bullets. Well, you probably don't even need bullets. They could just heat up your insides with those types of weapons. And just like that cloaking, that's going to be for robots. It's not really for humans. It's for robots. And eventually, researchers must provide programming tools that allow robots to play the games. However, some problems are expected to remain beyond any robot's ability to solve. At least for now, right? Until they start to think on their own. But until then, they'll need a few humans to be able to push some buttons. Speaking of robots, Army foresees expanded use of drones in U.S. airspace. The Army issued a new directive last week to govern the growing use of unmanned aircraft systems or drones within the United States for training missions. Ooh, training missions with other countries maybe? Or for, quote, domestic operations. Well, what are some of those domestic operations? For the first time, Predator drones participate in civilian arrest on U.S. soil. This is from last year. Oh, in Patriot country, right? North Dakota, over 6 missing cows. More like Ruby Ridge and stuff like that in Waco. That's what it'll be used for. Scientists confirm rocks fell from Mars. There's many theories out there, but one of them is that there's actually souls that are trapped in these rocks, so I wouldn't want to be to those things at all. And then a Mars probe falls over the Pacific, and there's probably a reason for that. Something that we're not supposed to go, quote, back there. It says here there's huge wars there before. Astronomers see more planets than stars and galaxies. They're getting people for what? Ready for the London 2012 Olympic Games and the false flag attack. Good opportunity to program a whole population. London 2012 mass gathering risks disease spreading. So here comes the quarantine. Then Lego Star Wars character hits London's Legoland. So they're going to bring on the stormtroopers. I wonder if they'll be invisible. Like Von Braun said, stage alien invasions. An international plan to protect Earth from comets and asteroids could mean billions for contractors. GGN, I'm Darko. Thank you.